evening, everybody. This. All right. Well, glad to see everyone here tonight. I hope, for my sake and yours, that we have a good discussion because I don't want to talk for 45 minutes and no one wants to hear me talk for 45 minutes. Before we get started, James, do you mind leading us in a word of prayer? We're going to be in the book of Habakkuk tonight. It is, as we've been focusing on in this Wednesday night series, Habakkuk is one of the minor prophets, one of the shorter among them. It's only 3 chapters. There are 2 or 3 that are shorter than Habakkuk, but even each of the chapters is relatively short. So we're not going to read all the way through Habakkuk tonight. There's just too much to discuss, to spend. I hope that you do spend some time reading through Habakkuk, but that's not necessarily the purview of this class. So if you have a Bible, go ahead and turn to Habakkuk. There, a way of advancing the slide. I'm going to look up here. There is. Mallory was here. She would make fun of me because when I was preaching in Ashland, Mississippi, this was an every week thing. I left the clicker wherever I had it last every Sunday morning and had to track it down during the sermon every Sunday morning. We're going to be in Habakkuk, and before we begin, I want to start with a thought experiment. Let's see, I turned it to, no, it should be on. There we go. So we're going to start with a thought experiment. Some of you were around when this was not a thought experiment. I was not. I'm not going to give my age because I don't want anyone thinking less of me for it. But some of you are around when this wasn't a thought experiment. World War II was, and still is today, the most destructive war of all human history. There has never been a war that was more brutal, more blood shed in such a short period of time. Previously, it was not uncommon for wars before the invention of modern firearms. It was not uncommon for wars to last decades. We even have a period of history that we call the 100-Year War that was actually closer to 112 years. World War II took place in less than a decade's time and had a death toll multiple times higher than any other war before it. It was the conservative end of the death toll for World War II is 35 million lives. If you factor in all the civilians whose lives were lost due to disturbances in the war, if you factor in all of the people who, all of the innocents who were targeted by soldiers during the war, the more liberal end of the death toll skyrockets into the 100 millions. It was, and I don't think I'm exaggerating when I say this, the most blood shed in the smallest period of time by human hands ever. And the center of all of that bloodshed was the Holocaust. Now, granted, more soldiers died than Holocaust victims, but the soldiers had guns, the soldiers knew what they were signing up for, the soldiers went into war planning to lay down their lives for others. The Jews, the black people, the homosexuals in Germany in this time and the surrounding countries as the Nazis took over, they didn't sign up for anything. They didn't do anything to bring about their persecution and death. There was no justification for the Holocaust. And again, at the conservative end, 11 million people died during the Holocaust. If you have ever read the accounts of Primo Levi, he was a Jew during the Holocaust. I believe he survived, but he tells his story of being alienated and dehumanized and watching his friends and loved ones die, it is one of the most heartbreaking accounts you'll ever read. I don't trust someone who can read it without shedding a tear or two. So I want you to put yourself into the place of a 1940s Jew in Germany, having your parents taken away, being taken away yourself and separated from them, watching everyone you've ever known die at the hands of people who don't know you and see you as nothing more than a rat. I want you to consider how you would feel if I told you that A, God is still here and he is still with you during this time, and B, God is going to use the Holocaust and World War II as a tool for justice. How would you feel hearing that? Angry? Yeah. I'm glad we're getting honest answers, because I would want to say, well, I would trust God. I don't think I would in that situation. And that's a moral failure.